In my previous video, I talked about the conception of a TikTok musical and how the app came together to create something bigger than anyone could have imagined. We talked about the Ratatouille musical, which overall had so much potential, but a lot of it just went fully unrealized and resulted in something quite infamous on the internet, but still quite delightful.
Enough!
But what people often neglect to mention is that a second TikTok musical was actually written, produced, and performed. In fact, this one was an entirely original musical, and with a lot of the same people from the Ratatouille musical involved. And instead of a celebrity cast, the cast would be made mostly of TikTokers. On April 14th, 2022, For You Page, an original musical written by Daniel J. Mertzlufft and many other TikTok composers, live streamed via TikTok. Similar to the Ratatouille musical, this show was mostly written and conceived through TikTok and was officially sponsored by the app. You might recognize Daniel J. Mertzlufft from this TikTok. And he actually arranged and wrote a lot of the music for Ratatouille the musical a year prior to For You Page. He was clearly one of the most involved people in that production, and the original creator who began the Ratatouille musical trend even had this to say about him.
The song caught the attention of Daniel Mertzlufft, and between my song and his arrangement, the Ratatouille musical movement was born.
And right off the bat, I want to say that this guy is really talented. He has such a knack for arranging contemporary musical theater and is an actual composer, not just a TikToker. I want to say all that before this video kicks into full swing because while, spoilers, I don't really care for You Page, I think that this guy is really talented and I wish the best for him. Please don't send him hate. In fact, I encourage you all to follow him. He seems like a lovely person. Now, unlike the Ratatouille musical, I actually didn't know anything about For You Page until months after its debut. In fact, I had to hear about it from my friend Lucas. Shout out Lucas. And I was wondering why that is. I mean, I was certainly not active on TikTok at the time. In fact, I was actually definitely on the theater side of TikTok. I was in a production of Mamma Mia when this thing premiered. Why did I not hear about this, and why did probably most of you not hear about this? Well, I'll get into that a little bit more later. So let's continue our delve into the crevasse that is TikTok musicals with For You Page. This is part 2 in a 2-part series I'm doing about TikTok musicals, and if you like this video, you should go check out the other one. You don't have to watch them in order, though. Please stay here. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me, please. Part 1, Conception. It was a rainy night, and your father and I were watching Good Will Hunting, and next thing you know, you were... Oh, wrong kind of conception? Okay. In January of 2022, just over a year after the Ratatouille musical premiered, Daniel posted this TikTok.
Hey TikTok, you might remember me from the Ratatouille musical or the Grocery Store musical, which feels about 15 years ago, but was really only last year. And I'm so excited to announce a brand new TikTok musical tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to tune in live to hear all of the details and how you might be able to be involved.
And the night after he put up that TikTok, he hopped on a live stream and announced For You Page, the first officially commissioned TikTok musical. It was going to be put on entirely by TikTokers under the name #ProjectBroadway.
A brand new TikTok musical is happening. Make sure to follow me and check out #Project Broadway, #Project Broadway,
Project Broadway.
Project Broadway. Use the #Project Broadway, #Project Broadway, #Project Broadway, #Project Broadway.
Now, I didn't mention it in my previous video because it didn't seem that relevant, but TikTok had been working with Broadway to bring live theater to the platform through the #BroadwayIsBack. They would stream through TikTok's live feature opening numbers from Waitress and The Lion King just to get people interested in theater again after a long pandemic. You know, people were just hesitant to, go outside. So one would assume that TikTok, having commissioned its own musical, would put it under this hashtag, but they didn't. They didn't. And you might realize that For You Page got off to quite a different start than the Ratatouille musical. This thing was just kind of announced. There wasn't particularly any hype for this thing beforehand or any noticeable trend. And I think For You Page's biggest problem here, before it even began, is that it wasn't a thing. This thing was just going to happen whether you liked it or not, so what is For You Page? Part 2, what is this? These TikToks advertising and sharing information about the show kept coming, mostly from Daniel.
We have a cast for You Page, the brand new TikTok musical from #Project Broadway.
All right, y'all, here is the official title and plot summary for #Project Broadway, our brand new TikTok musical.
New song alert for You page, the brand new TikTok musical. We are going live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time to share a brand new song. Tune in with the link at this video. Project Broadway.
They essentially had to start a fire with last night's embers, coasting off the success of Ratatouille and pulling people in as quickly as they could before this thing opened. So Daniel just kept posting, trying to get people on the hype train for this show. This included posting the plot synopsis, revealing the cast, the creators who will be writing the music, just general updates throughout early 2022 to get people interested. This came with mixed responses. Some people, of course, were really excited about this thing because TikTok has a lot of really talented people on the app, and the Ratatouille musical was pretty good, so why wouldn't a new one be? People had a lot of trust in the creators involved, so a lot of fans were looking forward to this thing. Much like the Ratatouille musical, people even posted their own contributions, albeit these were few and far between. One of the songs a group of composers wrote even made it into the final product, but we'll get to that a little bit later. It was really cool to see something kind of similar to the TikTok phenomenon that was the Ratatouille musical, although it just felt quite different. It's really hard to get people interested in something they are entirely unfamiliar with. And on top of that, when someone hears For You page, a lackluster pun, how are they supposed to get on board with that? I mean, if you come up to me on the street with some bad punny joke, I will laugh at you, so it makes sense that people were hesitant about this and that they got a lot of hate from the internet. I'm not saying that it's justified in any way or that they should get a lot of hate, but it's just not surprising. I mean, this is the internet we're talking about. But it didn't just get hate. Plenty of people held out hope for this thing. Mind you, the Ratatouille musical was really successful. I'm talking millions of dollars successful, so of course people had a lot of faith in TikTok's ability to put on something from the ground up. And after watching and kind of falling in love with the whimsical mess that was the Ratatouille musical, I held out a little bit of hope too. But as always, I was hesitant too. I mean, what if Ratatouille was a one-hit wonder? Could they pull it off again? Part 3, the first live TikTok musical. So For You page was billed as the first live TikTok musical. What exactly does that mean? Well, it wasn't live in the sense that there was an audience, as nice as that would be. What they mean is that the entire musical was performed live in person with the cast together on a stage in a theater in New York City. I've looked into it, albeit not that hard because I don't want to dox anybody, but I don't know exactly what theater they did. Based on the fact that they said it's in New York City, I'm gonna assume that it's not on Broadway. The event would be a little over an hour long and hosted by Andy Cohen. Two things. First of all, For You page is rather short. This isn't really a problem, but it's something I thought I should mention. Of course, there are plenty of one-act, very short musicals that can tell not only just a very compelling story, but a very complete story. Musicals like Ordinary Days, March of the Falsettos, and Assassins come to mind and are a few of my personal favorites. With Ratatouille the musical, paring down the show to be 1 hour was rather bizarre and difficult, especially since they were adapting a nearly 2-hour movie. But since For You page was an entirely original musical, this short runtime wasn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, it could work in their favor, especially when you're on an app that capitalizes on short attention spans. Secondly, Andy Cohen hosting this thing is very funny. So after a long, winding, and bumpy road, For You page was officially set to stream on April 14th, a Thursday. Wow. Really? Wow, literally everything is set against this thing. A Thursday? Well, with all of that context in mind, let's jump in to the first original and fully commissioned TikTok musical, For You page. Part 4, opening night. So we're here, April 14th, 2022. For You page live streams at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means a nice balmy 4 p.m. for us West Coast idiots.
Hey, TikTok! It's me, Andy Cohen.
The show begins with Andy Cohen introducing everything in a short interview with none other than Daniel himself. Before I get too far into this thing, yes, all of For You page is shot vertically. I know. This is because, again, it was streamed through TikTok, unlike the Ratatouille musical, which was streamed through an external site. There's no doubt that filming this whole thing vertically detracts from everything about it. I mean, there are times when 90% of the screen is taken up by one person and you can't see anyone else on stage, but honestly, you're just gonna have to get used to it, so buckle up. I'm so sorry. Anyway, there's a little interview with Daniel before everything begins, and some interesting stuff is revealed.
When we were working on For You page, we started in January. The songwriter started writing in January 13th, actually. And I was creating the book from scratch, and actually For You page.
So wait, hold on. Was that January of this year?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So this is fresh out of the oven.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go on. For you, Paige, you were saying.
No, normally like a Broadway musical takes
Usually
like 7 to 10
it
years.
sits for a while. Yeah.
We have a nice like couple readings, couple workshops.
Yeah,
oh no, we've had a week.
Okay, great.
I had known that For You Page was a pretty quick process and that they had announced it a year after the Ratatouille musical premiered, but this means that they produced For You Page in 4 months. Oh no. This might be a bit speculative here, so bear with me, but that's not just writing. That is composing, arranging, rehearsing, blocking, and putting everything together in just 4 months. And I know that might sound like a lot of time. I mean, Broadway musicals are rehearsed in just a little over a month, but it's important to consider that it takes years just to get a musical off the ground, let alone be workshopped. So it's fair to say that what we are going to be seeing tonight is gonna be, well, rough. Not unfinished per se, but unrefined. We're watching a glorified workshop of something that, in my opinion, is likely a first draft. I think that's important to keep in mind while watching this musical. However, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but let's look at the marketing for this thing. There is no marketing material that I am aware of that markets For You Page as a workshop or a read-through or anything of the sort. It's all just been marketed as the first live TikTok musical, a slogan that in and of itself is rather vague. And if I'm being honest, that just sets expectations way too high. So with those expectations, let's just jump into this thing. Rather than format this like my previous video and just go through the whole thing in order, I thought it would be nice to break down each and every element of this musical so we can really dig deep into this thing. So, without further ado, let's start with Part 5, the story.
Hey TikTok, I'm back with another Spot That Melody. First comment to name the song wins.
Landon, it's time for school.
So, right off the bat, we meet our main character, Landon. He is described by Daniel as a teenage music nerd, and I would say that about sums him up. He's not really much more than that. I mean, he's selfish, shy, he likes music, and he's in high school. He also likes his friend Paige, who we meet in this opening number.
Hi, to save me from myself.
Good morning, Paige. I take it you like the new Utopia book.
It's everything Book Talk said it would be.
Paige, this one's tough. I'd describe Paige as a geek. She likes to read, she doesn't have very many friends, and she likes her friend Landon. So right away you might see a problem here. There isn't much to either of these characters, especially Paige, the titular role. Landon at the very least is quite a flawed protagonist, which makes him a little interesting, but Paige just kind of likes to read and she likes Landon. Which sucks, because she's like the other main character of the show. She sings the only ballad, which is pretty much only about her being a geek and being friends with Landon. The whole show is pretty reliant on the relationship between these two, but we never really understand why they're friends. As far as I can tell, they just kind of grew up with each other. Every plot point, every stake, every conflict is centered around this relationship, one that's rather hard to understand because these characters are hardly fleshed out at all. Anyway, what's the plot of this musical? In short, the plot of For You Page is the plot of 13 the musical, mixed with the plot of Tick Tick Boom, mixed with the plot of Dear Evan Hansen. Yikes! Landon is a music nerd who pairs up with his best friend Paige to write a song based around these books called Utopia. Landon writes a song using Paige's lyrics and instantly blows up on TikTok, creating a trend overnight. What if Utopia was a musical? Does that sound familiar to you? Yeah, if you watched my Ratatouille video, you might notice that this idea is shockingly similar to the conception of the Ratatouille music. And Daniel has said he is inspired by just that. So how does this story pan out in this fictionalized version? Well, after Landon goes big and viral, he becomes hot shit and begins to neglect Paige.
I love that line about wastelands unexplored. How did you come up with that?
Honestly, that was Paige.
You was gone for too long. We got a VIP here. Show him a little respect. Landon, you were saying?
It just came to me, I guess.
Brother, this guy's
Really quickly, I don't want to gloss over just how big Landon gets. I mean, he goes insanely viral. So much so that people at his school just start running up to him and pretending to be his friend and start fangirling over him and going insane. And I think that that is so funny.
Landon, look! Brittany Broski used my sound?
And Lizzo just duetted you.
He becomes really popular at school because he made a theater kid TikTok. A theater kid TikTok. I was a theater kid in high school, and I can assure you that that is not how it would have gone down. If I blew up on TikTok for making some nerdy musical adaptation of a sci-fi book, I'd get ran over by a Ford F-150. Can you tell that this is a self-insert?
Landon, you know it's your boy. I saw you in the news this this morning.
Anyway, Landon becomes contracted to write a complete Utopia musical and decides to do so all by himself, once again neglecting the help of Paige. This goes poorly as he begins to stress about this and becomes a hermit, not doing anything but writing and coming up with nothing, as he literally hasn't even read the books. This guy sucks. Paige finally comes over to confront him.
Bestie, you might have girl bossed a little too close to the sun this time.
And she tells him how many people have been making their own Utopia content. They decide that they should work together again, and they create the official Utopia musical, and they enlist the help of TikTokers and the theater industry to help them. It goes perfectly, and they sing about it. Yeah, this story is pretty weak. I understand where this is coming from. I know that it is a bit of self-expression and also an expression of love for one's fellow creators that help them get to where they are, but it just comes off as a bit self-indulgent. I find that on a thematic level as well, For You page doesn't really work within the context that it was written. It exists under this guise that anyone can make a musical as long as you work hard and work with your friends, but if you take a look at For You page, that wasn't really the case. A nice sentiment, but it lacks a certain amount of humility that shows like Title of Show and even Tick Tick Boom have. Each of those shows end on the note that even if their musicals fail, they can find inner peace just by creating. For You page ends on a very happy note, which is nice, but at the end of the day, it just feels hollow. For You page is a musical that hardly gets past the pun, and I wish I could say I was exaggerating, but even the creator admits this.
And you know, the title came first, the pun, For You, comma, page, which is, you know, a joke of the For You page, the For You feed, which is the very famous TikTok algorithm. And the story kind of came from there, and we worked with TikToks.
And unfortunately, you can tell. We'll continue to address and unravel the story that is For You page a little more throughout this video, but for now I want to talk about something else that really bugs me about this show, which is Part 6, the references.
How about we set up a meeting for Monday?
Absolutely.
Great. I'll be in touch.
What? Oh my god!
This is a bit of a side tangent, and it definitely has no right being its own part of the video, but I just wanted to call everyone's attention to the amount of dated references in this thing.
Good soup.
Of course, I don't think most of these references were that dated at the time of the original premiere of this musical, so I'm sure many of these jokes just don't hit as hard as they would during the original live stream.
Gorgeous, gorgeous girls practice forgiveness.
I didn't even get that one. I had to look it up.
I know it ain't Landon.
And some of these references are still relevant, but Jesus Christ, some of them are just so painful. I guess my biggest gripe with these references is that they're just there to pander to people who use TikTok.
Go little rock star.
And I guess that makes sense if you're making a musical just for TikTok, but it's so annoying.
Bestie, you might have girl bossed a little too close to the sun this time.
God, I already showed that clip, and it's still hard to watch. There's also this scene that references a lot of genres that only exist on TikTok, which they portray by having a giant phone prop and people jumping in and out of frame as Landon swipes.
You know, I've really been trying to avoid playing I am the very model of a modern major general in a minor key, but y'all keep asking for it, so here we go.
Interpolation in pop music? Let's talk about it.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope you're doing so well today. Noodle and I are here with another reading.
Here's a brand new song from a retelling of Wicked, but told from the perspective of the little girl who kills Nessa.
Utopia needs to be a movie. Let's get into it.
Yeah, stuff like that just instantly dates your musical, and I understand that this is very much a product of its time and for the people on TikTok, but personally, I would cut it. I guess I suffered through that and just wanted everyone else to know what I had to sit through. Anyway, moving on.
Good soup.
Part 7, the songs. Alright, I'm just gonna go through each of the songs in this musical and analyze how they function in the show and my general opinion on them. The opening number is rather catchy, and it functions to introduce all of our main characters and that they are in high school.
Got school at 8, always running late. Can't find my other shoe, but hey, what can ya? Hey, what can you do?
I think the composition and arrangement is really delightful and lush, which is nice, and also pretty consistent between For You Page and Ratatouille the Musical. You can tell a lot of the same people worked on it, and that's a good thing because both of them have really solid orchestrations. I will say, however, that this musical starts almost exactly like every other contemporary musical theater song that takes place in a high school. An insecure kid goes to school and is insecure. Nothing particularly notable or surprising, and most importantly, it fails to set up what this show is really about. At the very least, most high school contemporary opening numbers set up the plot or main conflict of the show, but this song sets up pretty much just that he's in high school and that he doesn't like it. And then barely any of the rest of the show takes place in the high school. This sets up a completely different story than what we're about to get. This is definitely the type of thing that would get changed or rewritten in a workshop setting, so I don't really want to go too hard on it because this show just didn't get that. So these script doctors that I am doing shouldn't really feel like a target at the writers, just more of an indication that this thing was pushed out very fast. I just wanted to make that clear.
Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
God, I thought we were done with the references. If you were confused, that makes sense, because this is a sort of flash-in-the-pan TikTok trend that was outdated even when For You Page premiered. Essentially, this guy blew up on TikTok for singing The Wellerman, an old 19th century sea shanty that sounds like this.
Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
Anyway, yay, another reference, this time musical.
One day when the talking is done, we'll take our leave and go.
And it probably makes the least amount of sense out of any of them. It's really just there for TikTok users to go, oh, I seen that before. The next song is Landon's I Want song. He has just been told by his parents that he should not go to college for music because it's just a hobby.
But you're great, and you're going to keep being great when you're an engineer.
Can we not? Fine.
Good soup.
He sings a song that sounds a lot like the opening number, but honestly, I kind of like it. It's got a really catchy piano hook behind it, and while, yeah, it's a super musical theater-y, cliche sort of song, I just kind of found myself lost in the melody of this one and just nodding my head.
So clear the song in my ear that no one can hear, no matter how I try to explain. There's nothing to gain, it's all in my brain. The melody will only play for me, my own symphony, till one day I find a perfect.
I wrote in my notebook while I was watching this, why did they sample the McDonald's theme? And when I was writing this video, I was really confused as to what that meant. And then I went back and watched it and realized I was talking about this.
Every knock on the door, every step on the floor is a drum, like ba-da-ba-bum.
I actually have no idea if this is a reference to something, if it's actually the McDonald's theme, or if it's just a forgotten lyrical placeholder. What is this? I googled it and everything that came up was Ice Spice. Anyway, I'll be honest, I think this is probably my favorite song in this musical. I mean, just listen to the beautiful horn arrangements in this bridge section.
My name again, Charlotte from a 20-foot marquee.
Wait, do you recognize that melody? Let me play that back for you really quickly. Sorry for the change in lighting and location, but this is me while I'm editing because I have just noticed that they interpolated the Ratatouille theme song in For You Page. I just wanted to talk about that because I thought that was very cool and important to mention. And just another representation of how these two musicals kind of coexist together. I thought that was really cool, really clever, kind of subtle. I feel like I only realized it because I've watched this so many goddamn times. Anyway, back to High Quality Max. Also, I feel like the actor who plays Landon gets a really good opportunity to show off his really solid vocal chops in this number. Landon is played by Roman Banks, an actor with a little bit of Broadway experience under his belt, but he's most known for playing a character named Howie in High School Musical, the series. Roman honestly does a great job in this, his voice being his standout feature. It's really hard to carry a show like this on your back, especially with so little time beforehand, so it's impressive that he did so with so much grace. I will say he gets a little pitchy here and there, but honestly, everybody does, so I'm gonna chalk that up to either the location they're performing in or the amount of rehearsal time they had. Probably the latter. Anyway, Paige raps. I mentioned earlier that there was a song directly pulled from a TikTok inspired by For You page, and this is that song. It was made by the composing duo Gauze and Photos. I was actually aware of these guys before For You page, and I'm actually kind of a fan of their content, so give them a follow. But unfortunately, Paige is not committing very hard to this rap. Paige is played by TikToker Shri Ramesh, and let me get this out of the way. She is very talented. She's got a great voice. She posts a lot of singer-songwriter content on TikTok, and I really like her vocal style. She has this little Billie Eilish, Lana Del Rey hushed vocal thing going on, and I think it sounds really great. It really suits her. Unfortunately, that doesn't really translate to a musical theater setting. I'm more than certain, however, that with a little more time, her performance could have been a lot better, but mind you, they supposedly had a week to rehearse this. Her quietness sort of reads as nerves and uncertainty to me, although there are a few standout moments where she sounds great. And yeah, it doesn't need to be said that this rap is very Hamilton inspired, and that's annoying. Get out of here, Lynn. Go! Stop! No! Stop it! Get out of here! You're so... Stop! Next is not a song, but a scene in which Paige sends her lyrics to Landon via email. And I'm not really sure why, but there's about 30 seconds of dead air here. I'm just gonna let it all play.
Okay, check your texts. I just sent you like a bunch of lyric ideas.
Huh. Oh, I see it. Fleeting shadow.
Again, I don't know what happened here, but it is very funny. How does this happen? Is he reading cue cards? That makes sense. I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the gaffes. This thing has a lot of them. From shots falling out of focus to not even being on people's faces, this thing is a technical mess. Filming an entire musical with this little room is certainly not ideal. I mean, most screens are horizontal for a reason, guys. I've seen a lot of TikToks that encourage viewers to tilt their phone screen to get the full experience, and I'm not really sure why they didn't do that with this thing. I don't know, it's just bizarre. Back to the songs, the next one is actually Landon's big TikTok hit, Utopia the Musical. This song is entitled Beyond the Dome, and yes, you're right, that does sound ridiculous. We start off with some delightfully descriptive and metaphorically resonant lyrics.
And this is sounding really awful, just really, really bad.
And from there, we are sucked into the world of Utopia, where we see a fully fleshed out musical number that is implied to be Landon's TikTok. This is all very cool and all, but it did leave me with one question. Is this actually Landon's TikTok? We don't get any other indication otherwise, so it seems that somehow, in one night, Landon composed and arranged this entire musical number and posted it.
But why do I feel a pull to the other side?
I have enough media literacy to understand that he didn't call an entire cast and crew to come perform this in his bedroom, but what did he actually do? Did he just sing an acoustic rendition of it? If so, I don't think that would have gone viral, so what was his TikTok? I would love to see it. So much of what makes this musical number great, however, and it is great, is how big and over the top everything is. From our whimsical protagonist to our goggled ensemble, it's just so weird. And I know this doesn't really matter, but when your whole show is reliant on the fact that your main character posted a viral TikTok, I'd like to see what he posted. Anyway, the song is pretty great. It's sung by Christina Olivato, another current Broadway star, most known for being in the American Psycho musical, and also having been Gretchen Wieners in the Mean Girls musical after Ashley Park from Ratatouille the musical. Her voice can come off as a bit skrelty in this number, but I can't tell if it's her or her mic.
Begging you to go. Beyond the dome, find the life I'm longing for is mine. Beyond the
But I feel like she really acted the hell out of this number and really sold the whole thing, even though I have no idea what on earth this proposed musical is about. She did a great job. Perfect. 10 out of 10. No notes. She's also credited twice in the credits, and you thought I wouldn't notice. Moving on! The next morning, Landon's TikTok blows up, and he sings a song about how he's got a big TikTok hit.
This is crazy. I'm pretty sure we hit 3 million views.
I have very few notes about this song. It's actually one of the more fun group numbers in For You page. I like seeing the ensemble get to be featured in this one. There's also a little lyrical motif where every time he sings this hook, the amount of views he has goes up.
I just can't comprehend 4 million people now have heard of me. I just can't comprehend 5 million people now have heard of me.
I can't believe that 7 million people now have heard of me. love you.
I can't even believe 8 million people now have heard of me.
I can't believe that he would choose 9 million people over me.
I can't even believe 10 million people now have heard of my friend.
But first I have to process that 11 million people heard of me.
And I just think that's cute. What a nice touch. I also think it's really funny that that was the song that went viral, Beyond the Dome. That is one of the corniest songs I've ever heard. And don't get me wrong, I love it. It's just the fact that that got him into TikTok stardom is very funny to me.
Sorry, I'm already guessing on a live at 7. Yeah, how about 8? I could be available depending on your appearance fee. Sorry, that's a question for my publicist.
Since when do you have a publicist?
5th period.
What a weird, bizarre pipe dream. There's also some banger choreography in this number, a perk of being live in person. No more weird TikTok filters. Paige sings a ballad next because Landon took all the credit for their song, and it is boring. I feel bad judging this song actually because in an interview, Daniel said that they were going to keep ballads to a minimum because they know they're on TikTok, and that made me feel like a stupid little iPad baby. I can listen to serious ballads where actors just sing out their emotions for a little bit with no choreography or harmonies or anything to keep me interested. I'm no stupid little baby, okay? I can do it. I am capable of sitting through a slow song where an actor doesn't tell any jokes or move at all and just stands and sings their emotions, okay? It's just that this one is so boring. Let's actually examine this number, shall we? This song doesn't tell a linear story, and in my opinion, the best ballads all do. It's actually structured more like a pop song. Verse, chorus, bridge, chorus till the end, with no real progression. Just general sad lyrics about Landon being a shitty friend. I understand the need for a slow song in your musical to break up monotony and also to ground everything. If your musical is full of only giant bangers, it lessens the impact of each song. It all makes sense to me, but my problem with this is that it's just sung to the audience and does very little to move the story or the characters forward. It grinds the show to a halt, actually.
Talk it out, but you won't even meet me in the middle, and now the back I thought you had, you went behind, and now I'm bowing out, 'cause you went and took the words I had in my mouth.
If I were to make any changes to this song, I'd form it more as a confrontation to Landon. I mean, that's what it clearly is intended to be anyway. Either that, or I'd write in another side character for her to vent this all to. At the very least, it should have some stake in the story. Right now, it just sort of functions to function. And I can't help but think that Daniel was right. Maybe it's good that they only had one ballad, because if I tuned in to the musical during this one ballad, I would totally scroll away. And that sucks because there are a few moments in this song where Shri actually sounds really great. Next, Landon is asked by the big Broadway producer to continue to write songs for Utopia the musical.
The timing isn't quite right. Their only opening is 6 months out, and aside from a cancellation next month, that's just really not enough time.
No, I can do next month.
We've had a week. Okay.
And here we have the song that is most clearly inspired by Tick Tick Boom.
Come on, brain, think of things. Come on, brain, be so smart. Keys to keyboard. Write the first line. How hard could it be? Just started with the simple C chord.
Can composers stop writing songs about themselves? It's so boring.
I will not stop or second guess. I must go on, I must impress.
Okay, this song has some pretty good harmonies between Landon and Beyond the Dome. Honestly, the music in this show isn't half bad. It's probably one of the best parts about it. And this is particularly a standout moment in the show. There's just a lot of talent on stage, both of them singing their hearts out. Go team! This number culminates with Paige entering Landon's home unprompted.
Plenty of time, now that my best friend up and ditched me.
Like we had a song for this. Why do we need such a long, awkward scene for this conversation?
Look, Bestie, you might have girl bossed a little too close to the sun this time.
Never gets old. The two sing a song and write an entire musical together. This song serves as a montage for the entire production of the show, and much like the Ratatouille musical, I gotta give them props for at the very least moving stuff along quickly with a song. That's always so fun and a nice way to cover a lot of ground since you only have an hour to do your musical. That does make me question, however, if they're gonna rush through the meat of their production. What did we just watch? Let's recap, shall we? Landon goes to school, he writes a song with Paige's lyrics and makes a TikTok. The TikTok goes viral, and he writes songs but can't do it very well. Paige saves the day, and now they're doing the show. Does it feel like we kind of did nothing there? It does to me. What this play really lacks is things happening. Our main character changes, but not really because he overcomes hardships. It's because his friend told him to stop screwing around. This play is almost over, and we've been talking about it for God knows how long, and the only notable thing that I can remember is when the dad said, "Good soup."
Good soup.
So that's most of the songs in For You page. There's actually only 2 left, and they certainly wrap up the show, so let's finish this thing. Part 8, The Dome. Now I know the question that has been on your mind this entire video. What is Utopia about? Well, it's not real, I'll tell you that. You're not missing out on some huge YA novel trend, so don't you fret. Based on the lyrics up until this point about Utopia, it's a world that's divided into factions, and the world is on the verge of revolution. We also know there's a dome. I like that they created a fictional world within a world here. I also like how vague it is. It's called Utopia, and it's clearly a dystopian novel like The Hunger Games. I imagine there's a lot of irony within the novel there. To me, Utopia sounds like a mix of The Hunger Games, 1984, and Ready Player One. And probably Dune too, but I don't know shit about Dune. And if you were ever curious to see more numbers from this proposed Utopia musical, well, you're in luck because that's kind of the climax of For You page. I was kind of dreading this because I didn't really want to be thrown into this haphazard world that I knew nothing about, so of course I went in hesitant, but before we actually see the Utopia musical, the cast actually receives messages from many famous actors that were currently, at the time, on Broadway. Everyone from the cast of Wicked, Six, and even Hamilton.
Break a leg, cast of Utopia! Break legs to the cast of Utopia! Break a leg, cast of Utopia!
But I'm sure TikTok live chat was going crazy over Madame Morrible from Munchkinland.
Break a leg, Landon, from Madame Morrible here in Munchkinland.
Do you think she knows that Landon isn't a real person? Anyway, after all of Broadway was held at gunpoint, Utopia the musical premieres with 3 original musical numbers. These songs are so weird. I love them. They are the best part by far of For You page. There's a lot of weird vocab, which I love.
A dome was erected about the city, completely isolating it from human civilization. We call it Ambrathian.
The first song we see is this eerily haunting ensemble number. It's described that there is an experimental utopian town built, and around it there was a dome. Then the whole world around it ended, and the dome is all they have left.
All that's left here in the dome, so we do our best and we call it home.
This already feels like it's broken canon, as we've already learned that the world is divided into factions, but I'm just gonna assume that by world, they mean dome.
Watcher, giver, advocate, thinker. Each role contributes to our city.
Tag yourself, I think I'm a thinker. Kaya, a watcher and our protagonist, decides to leave and see what is beyond the dome. She learns that the whole world she knows is a lie, and she is sworn to secrecy.
Sworn to secrecy, Kaya promised me, and Radiant will thrive, that I guarantee. Take my advice, or pay the price. The test is now or never.
She then, I think, leaves the dome and meets a boy from outside the dome. It's sort of like the Montagues and the Capulets, but from in the dome and outside the dome. Dome-crossed lovers, if you will. At least that's what I thought they were going for, but they sort of wear the same clothes, and then they sing Beyond the Dome reprise together. I would love for someone to send me the Utopia the musical liner notes and the lore Bible. I need answers for this now. Someone clarify this for me. They march to war and decide to create
A true utopia.
Oh, I see what they did there. That's the name of the show.
Beyond the dome.
And just like that, we are pulled from the dome, just like the citizens who live among it dream of. What a strange way to essentially conclude your musical. It's definitely the highlight of a nothing burger of a show. And honestly, I just kind of wish they made the Utopia musical. I mean, there's a lot going on there. After we enter the much more interesting world of Utopia, we are thrown back into reality, where Landon and Paige revel in their hit show. They end the show with a closing number entitled Make the Moment Shine. This is your average everybody stand up and clap along closing number, and if I'm being honest, it kind of just made me want to be an Abrethian again. Wait, are they called Abrethian, or is it like their religion or something? Or is it like their lifestyle? See, I need a full Utopia musical to have these questions answered. After For You page ended, there was only one thing on my mind. What was that? Part 9, what was that? Let's reflect, if you will. Let's reconsole. Did I say that word right? No? Damn it! For You page is probably the definition of a hard watch. Cringe at every right turn, corny at every stop sign, technically messy at every yield, and self-indulgent at every other driving analogy. I found it quite fascinating, however, because it's just such a strange product. Not to sound redundant here, but it really is. Once again, I'd like to mention how different the conception is of the Ratatouille musical compared to For You page. Ratatouille gained hype over a long period of time, which this musical downplays quite a bit. I mean, making a musical with such a quick turnaround based on one TikTok is a boiled down explanation of how the Ratatouille musical was made, and I feel like it lacks the heart that was put into it from each and every creator who was a part of the whole thing. Also, the idea that anyone can make a musical is true, but it takes time. Even the Ratatouille musical didn't become anything after the initial live stream, and if it did, I'm sure it would take years. TikTok seems like they want to fund big projects like this, but they are doing it in the least intuitive way possible. Remember that this musical was officially commissioned, sponsored, and hosted by TikTok and Andy Cohen.
For You page.
Pushing this out in 4 months is insane to me, and I don't know whose decision that was. I think it was TikTok's. Even if it has a lot of problems, it's clear that a lot of love was put into For You page, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to anyone because it was just so rushed and unfinished. And frankly, I can't help but feel bad for Daniel. He's a super talented guy, and I respect all of the work he did to make this thing come to fruition. And I don't think For You page is an inherently flawed story, it just needed a bit of work. It's a fixer-upper. But it has potential, that's the important thing. The cast is phenomenally talented, and a lot of the songs are just so great and catchy, it would make a great musical, I'm sure. At the very least, this is a good start, but ultimately it's just held back by TikTok. I mean, just the title, really? I feel like we've glossed over this quite a bit. Really? For You page. Really?
For You page.
I can't say that I really walked away from For You page loving it. I didn't really like it at all. As much as I liked the creators involved, For You page exists in its own world. One where a musical can be created overnight and be a massive success, and one where TikTok cares about its creators. And unfortunately, For You page proved that neither of those things are the case. Part 10, but that's not it, is it? Well, as of right now, those two musicals are the only two official TikTok musicals. But that's not to say none of these people are still creating things. One of my favorite things to spawn from a TikTok creator is RJ Christian's Morbius musical, which is one of the most glorious shitposts I've ever seen. RJ was pretty heavily involved in both Ratatouille and For You page, and he definitely is a standout for me in both of those. The Morbius musical is so bizarre. It's right up your alley if you like the stuff Star Kid did back in the day, or just love strangely specific and wacky comedy like I do. I love musicals like this that don't take themselves too seriously, but still have a lot of really great music and passion behind it. I recommend this highly to anyone interested.
Dead body? Oh no, I must have killed them! I couldn't resist the bloodlust. This truly is the price of Morbin too hard!
There's also the Bridgerton musical, which won a Grammy and sparked up its own little controversy that all started on TikTok. Similar to the Ratatouille musical, this one also started through a trend in a popular IP on TikTok, and its success has clearly proved that TikTok creators can be successful in the theater space. There's also the Cars musical, which I made up, but I guess people didn't pick up on that. Daniel Mertzleft is still writing and actually just came out with a musical theater album full of original songs. I hope he keeps writing because I'd love to see another musical with his name on it. He clearly has a knack for what he's doing and overall just seems like a really sweet dude. So it's true, TikTok can create some really cool stuff, but I really do think it comes down to the platform being really difficult to sustain a larger project. Their hesitancy to put on musicals longer than an hour, their lack of audience, the forced vertical live stream, and most of all, the 4-month window this thing was made in are just a few of the biggest inherent problems that I think were likely enforced by the app. I think both of these musicals that I've talked about in this series have had a lot of care put into them, but they were ultimately held back by a platform that wanted nothing more than to profit off of these trends as quickly as possible. In short, man, fuck TikTok. And that's something that scares me for the future. How many more of these big companies are going to exploit creators in order to churn out as much content as possible? I mean, we've seen it on TikTok, we've seen it in traditional media, and we've even seen it on YouTube, my home. And it's a difficult thing to predict, but it's not looking good. Man, how do I end this video positively? Okay, well, I guess there's a bright side somewhere here. The creators who worked on these things are all out doing their own stuff and thriving. For You page, at the very least, got a lot of people together to make a pretty cool thing. And even if that cool thing was kind of cringe, who cares? TikTok sucks, but making art with people doesn't. It's as simple as that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so tired. We've been filming this one for kind of a long time, so I'm going to keep the outro nice and short. If you liked my neighbors in the background talking, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, I got some cool stuff lined up, and I'm actually really excited about the future of the channel, so stick around. It means a lot. Also, I have a lot of new stuff to say at the end of all my videos now, so thank you for 10,000 subscribers. That's where I am at recording this video, so thank you so much. Stuff is moving so fast, and it's really cool to be able to do this thing that I love to do. So thanks for being here. Sorry for making up the Cars musical, but if it... Oh, sorry, Ringo. Sorry for making up the Cars musical. If it's any consolation, in the next video, we're going to be talking about the Shark Tale musical, which is really exciting because, you know, it stars Christian Borle, so that's going to be really cool. Anyway, thank you for sticking around. If you liked the video, you know, there will be more. So, click here or something. I don't know. What do YouTubers say? I'm getting used to this thing still. So thanks for watching. I love you so much. Goodbye.